Ah, all right, let's get ready for the show. Let me get this up. Look at animation, fantastic. All right, everyone, let's quickly skip to the PDF. There we go. Look, seamless technology. All right, this is the Black Bear broadcast show 73, which is great. All right, so this is the show 73. So for those who new, we have to go through this intro. Won't take too long. Just to break down the premise of the show. Should be a good show today, one hopes. Let me just make sure everything's working. So far, so good. Cool. I'm your host, Rap Raven. And after much research, I've unfortunately concluded that collectively and currently, Black people are collectively inadequate. There you go. So that's say it one more time without a tongue twister. After much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently Black people are collectively inadequate. Very strong statement, very important statement. Please use it. It's a good statement that will help you find solutions. Cool. Now, as usual, we're going to invite brothers and sisters to jump on live. All I ask is that we practice the 4D values whenever we possibly can, and that is discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity. We're going to cover a very big topic today that might be high anxiety filled. So we want to try to minimize anxiety when we talk because this is a good way to find solutions when we minimize anxiety. Very nice. All right. So please don't use derogative language if possible. And it's been like studying of some kind. Let's try to be as controlled as possible when we're trying to find solutions. Makes it very easy when you do that. All right, or easier. So what is Black Betterment? I hear you say, well, Black Betterment is Black people helping Black people on Black issues for betterment. That's what it is. That's what Black Betterment is, everyone. Voila. So that means we are talking about the lifestyle of Black Betterment. So this entire broadcast is promoting the lifestyle of Black people helping Black people on Black issues. The idea is to make that very trendy, go throughout the universe and the interweb and all that good stuff to educate Black people to actually help Black people. Because unfortunately, in many parts of the world, the culture is the opposite. It's doing things that actually undermine Black progress, which is never good. So we have to address this and fix this. I'm sure we can. So copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, announcements made for fair use purposes such as discrimination, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed and profited. Educational for use of tips and balance in favor of fair use. So all that means is we're going to be using videos that don't belong to us and we don't get shut down. Because we studied many videos to help us try to find solutions, blah, 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 good. So that's what that is. Now, what we're going to do is this week, discussion is we discuss non-Black people who practice racism whilst dating Black people. I mean, the topic came up. We're going to jump from topic to topic, really, but we're going to use it as a segue. But I think Sister Oprah, shame on me why I said that was actually bad. I'm thinking of the color purple for some reason. Sister Whoopi Goldberg, so what happened is I believe I'm going to show a video. Maybe I should show it now. But she got in a bit of a pickle because she was talking about Jewish people. And Jewish people is a very good people to study because there's a lot of things that the Jewish collective do that I think Black people can learn from. And hopefully this is a learning moment for that as well. Multifaceted. So she made a comment about racism and Jewish people not being a racist kind of stuff. So we're going to try to unpack it. People can jump on all the rest of it. But let me play a blackified news report so the algorithm gets skewed. And let's see if we can study the case. So let's jump straight in. Waste no time. We're going to waste no time as we study Whoopi Goldberg and her challenges that she is going through currently. All right. Bless up, everyone. Bless up, Empress Kushti. Major support. Let's watch the video. Hopefully it makes sound.
Morning, Ariel.
Good morning.
Rewind.
Breaking news overnight. The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg suspended for 2 weeks for her comments about the Holocaust. Ariel Reshef has the story. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning to you, George. Though Goldberg has apologized, her comments sparked a firestorm, some seeing this as a troubling sign of fading understanding about the horrors of the Holocaust.
This morning, ABC News suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks in response to her inflammatory remarks about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
ABC News President Kim Godwin saying in a statement, effective immediately, I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg.
Just analyze that. We don't know what she said according to this thing thus far, but what we do know is she's been suspended for her comments.
For 2 weeks for her comments about the Holocaust.
Looks like it was
Inflammatory effective immediately. I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks for her wrong and hurtful comment.
So she's suspended. So we learn that
While
much.
Whoopi has apologized, I've asked her to
She's apologized.
take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments.
So obviously the thing she said has impacted on someone negatively or a community, which is something we have to remember because certain things said about the Black community impacts us very negatively, and we might have to have the same kind of post-haste treatment.
The entire ABC News organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues.
Nice, you see that? So ABC, the channel, and all that people there, they want the Jewish people to know that this woman was wrong, and we stand on your side for her wrongness. Voila!
Friends, family, and communities.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to do this, then let's
And here's what she says. It said we can break it down, see if there's any truth or non-truth, or whatever truth is there. Let's see, shall we?
be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race.
Interesting statement there. Just for you know, if you study Frances Cress Welskin's book, she actually says the opposite, that it's very much about race, and it was that the Jewish Adolf Hitler viewed the Jews as non-white because historically he assumed that they were mixed with Semites. This is what he believed at the time, and that mean that they couldn't have been viewed as Aryan or pure white, and then thus was viewed as a different race. I put something like that. I might be paraphrasing there, but that's obviously Whoopi Goldberg was reading a different book. Or maybe she's more modern in a concept of race.
On Monday's show, the host of ABC's The View inaccurately claimed the Holocaust was not related to race.
It's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about. Whoopi Goldberg.
Goldberg appearing to double down on the Colbert Show that night.
The American experience tends to be based on skin.
Yes. And so that is what race means to me. When you talk about being a racist, I was saying you can't call this racism. This was evil. This wasn't based on the skin. You couldn't tell who was Jewish. They had to delve deeply to figure it out.
Then tweeting an apology, saying in part, the Jewish people around the world have always had my support, and that will never waver.
What?
I'm sorry for the hurt I have caused. And the next day, opening The View with this.
I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and it was instead about
She's kind of slightly changing her tune here, guys. Very good techniques by the Jewish community to make sure she doesn't say things they dislike.
man's inhumanity to man, but it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race. Now, words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people, as they know and y'all know, because I've always done that.
By the end of the Holocaust, just 77 years ago, 6 million Jews had been murdered.
What's interesting about the actual news is they're really pushing the facts there, and they're really highlighting the mistakes as they identify as mistakes by Whoopi and trying to follow up. Very interesting way to do the news.
That might not fit exactly or feel different
And now this brother here, brother I should say, is Whoopi. Let's see.
than the way we think about race in 20.
Jonathan Greenblatt, I believe. Could be saying that wrong. Shame on me if I am. And he's from the Anti-Defamation League. So he's a CEO. It's quite important. So this is an individual who's been hired to make sure that people who speak in ways that don't best interest the Jewish community, that they are highlighted and things are done to correct any things that this community believes is not accurate or in the best interest of them. And this is something we can study. Very good technique, very effective, and as you see, it's working very well. Just for side note, funny enough, Whoopi Goldberg, that isn't her name. She changed it, I think, to fit into Hollywood, and I think she chose, I think it's something like it was Whoopi Cushion, and then she said it can't be called Whoopi Cushion, so I think she chose a Jewish name, which is Goldberg. And maybe she thought that brought her closer to Jewish people, and she could say more. I'm not too sure. I haven't studied this, so this is just speculation. But interesting name choice. Also, we're going to move on to somewhere a bit after. Let's carry on listening until we jump to the next bit.
First century America, where primarily it's about people of color.
Right.
But throughout the Jewish people's history, they have been marginalized, they have been persecuted, they have been slaughtered, in large part because many people felt they were not just a different religion, but indeed a different race.
Yes, everything said there could be pushed onto black people, but probably tenfold. But you never compare scars. Not important. Everyone's suffering is important.
The head of the Anti-Defamation.
And then they show Aryan people who dislike Jewish people, which is never nice. Cool. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the picture. So just a little study of a video. Sister Oprah, keep saying Oprah because of Color Purple, we're going to talk about in a bit. But shame on me twice. That's the second time I've done that. Whoopi Goldberg. There you go. I'm going to hell on that one. All right, yeah. So we discuss non-black people who practice racism whilst they. So obviously that issue's there, and we're gonna have people can talk about that. But one thing I do want to talk about, which is just me obviously segueing somewhere else, is Whoopi Goldberg has she's had many husbands and boyfriends, as many have, and her preference is clearly European and white, and that happens. Circles you find yourself in, you marry who you find yourself in. So we believe. But let me turn that off because my phone will keep on making noises. Okay, mute that. Voila. Yeah. Anyway, so what I was saying is, but there was one picture that circled with her. Now I'm bad with names. It's something that I need to apologize on, and I should use Wikipedia more, but I don't. And she dated a guy, and I forgot his name, but he was actually what do we call it? He was the head actor in Cheers. So that show called Cheers that had a spin-off called Frasier. The brother who was the star of that, he dated Whoopi for 2 years or so, and I think he turned up to one of her celebration events or whatever dressed in blackface. So I guess the question that we're pushing forward, that we're going to dive into, as well as the whole what happened to Whoopi and that kind of stuff, is sound effect. That's a good one. Yeah, we should have sound effects like that. Good question. Good one. The question is, do we discuss non-black people who practice racism while dating black people? So, when you have black people who practice miscegenation and interracial dating, this kind of stuff, does it sometimes allow perceive that the non-black person can actually either speak for black people or even, do certain jokes that historically wouldn't be too cool? And I guess the question is, would that go on in other communities? Funny thing as well about the miscegenation thing, the interracial stuff. We always show pattern perceptions. Let me go through this now. And one thing we were showing is we was always trying to find the patterns of, how can we try to guarantee or highlight if a black person might do something in black people's best interest, and is there patterns we can look that might say that maybe they might not really be that much black kind of focused, maybe, who knows, could be right, could be wrong, but you want a pattern just so you can have a starting preference or starting a concept, whatever. And we looked at in England, the UK, like all of the male politicians all have married European for the most part, blonde for the most part, this kind of preference that they'll say that isn't their preference. And obviously the person, you never allow the person to tell you, you allow them to tell you what they think. But once again, the concept of life is like, if you walk into a school and everyone's wearing Nike, and then they go, there was no plan in there was no kind of systematic way of doing stuff, it's just we all like Nike. They won't know that Nike has bought out ads and and then they dominate the stores and all other kind of stuff and undermine competition, blah blah blah. But they'll just say I like Nike, and I guess that's the same with black people. But when things become completely one-sided, then you say, okay, we need to look at the patterns. Is something going on here? Blah blah blah. So one thing that came on the other day was in America, across the pond, they're picking a new what was it called? I forgot what it's called. It's on the next page. But anyway, they're picking a black woman, which is good, very good. And of all the black women, they're trying to pick which one would be the best. I forgot what it's called, but when I skip it, well, let's go there. Supreme Court lady. There you go. And what I've done is I've taken all the names, as I do, because I try to find patterns, and I've just put them on because women's a bit different from men. Usually, you tend to men prefer when they get to a higher plateau to an extent. They tend to date outside their people group much more than women, historically anyway. But I was looking at this now to see which one of these ladies who they're pushing forward to be the new work in the Supreme Court. And and I've noticed that once again the pattern is kind of there. It's a bit different. We have 4 sisters to the left. They all have European partners. Good for them, all that good stuff. And then something that I've noticed more so in black women. Now, this is something that we should all be aware of when it comes to like looking at kind of some stuff. You tend to find that it's sometimes hard to find if certain black women have any partners at all. This was also in the UK one when it comes to looking at the women in MPs and stuff. Interesting that. It could be just been my research is rubbish and my internet is 56K or whatever, 54K, whatever it is, 52K, and I can't find. So I don't know what it is, right? And then there's a sister here, looks so probably African heritage, and she seems to have a black husband here. So that's one, which is nice. Hopefully she wins, but not that you want to win based upon your husband, but you know, still good for black betterment purposes. And hopefully she'll be more focused on black knees, but you never know. Anyway, so yeah, this is another pattern thing. This is something you should do. Try to find patterns, you know, it's blah, 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 blah. But what we're going to do now, we're going to actually listen to Neely Fuller and his concept of interracial dating and the pros and cons of how it might affect people. To see if you can follow along, we'll break him down. For those who don't know what he looks like, this is maybe I can play one thing of him defining something. This is what.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. United means that in theory or in intent, the people who are the victims of racism and are.
That's the road there. That's the book he made. That's the early edition from the 90s. I think he's updated since then. But let's listen to some of the stuff he says about interracial dating. Because
this race.
We go.
But see, I recommend that there be no sexual intercourse between white and non-white until this race issue is settled. That should be the last thing. Now, even though there are millions and millions and millions of people accelerating the process of more and more sexual intercourse between white and non-white, that's obvious, okay? But I still recommend that's not the best way. Because of what? It causes confusion. That's what. That's putting the cart before the horse. It should be done according to my recommendation. The way it should be done is not going to be done that way. I mean,
now I posted a link in the group family, so if you want to jump in, and we've got things to talk about. One is obviously the Whoopi Goldberg fiasco, analyzing what happened to her, as well as learning from that and lessons learned, and then also looking at does being in so-called interracial relationships, does that maybe allow the non-black person to be able to feel more comfortable, take certain kind of liberties? And we had a picture of Whoopi Goldberg's boyfriend at the time in blackface publicly. I guess, he thought he had permission to do that. And maybe you can. I don't know. Who knows?
Right now, it seems like worldwide. But the best way to do it, as the best way to do everything, is to get the school situation straightened out first. Education is important. Get the money straightened out, the economics. Get that straightened out first. Now, we understand that when it comes to just one-on-one. Now, what I'm saying sounds absurd when I'm talking about millions of people, but the same principle still holds for one-on-one or whether you're talking about millions. Now, we understand it when we're talking about one-on-one. The young lady will say, well, wait a minute. You want to go to bed with me? I mean, who are you? What's your name? What are you going to do for me? What kind of guarantees do I have out of this arrangement that we are going into? I mean, or do we just jump in bed and then sort everything else out later? Now, the average female nowhere on the planet goes about doing business that way. When she meets a fella, she says, wait a minute, before you start putting your hands on me, let's talk. Let's talk about how we think. Let's talk about what you like, what you don't like. Let's talk about how you see the world or what your ambitions are. And we can get on some type of communication page before we just jump in bed.
Okay, we're going to one more video, and while the video's there, feel free to jump in to get ready for our discussion segment. Try to make it quick because we always run out of time. I try to keep the shows 2 hours, but last couple they've gone to more. Don't get me wrong, the show is good. We can go longer if needed, and people don't mind. But we try to make sure I don't take up too much time waffling here and allow people to feel that they can contribute. So this is the why we're this last one here. Feel free to jump in. The link, I believe, is in the. If the link doesn't work, let me know, but it should work. Let's go.
Showcasing.
Let's rewind.
Oh, to cause confusion in the textbook for victims of white supremacy. That is racial. That comes under racial showcasing and racial sexual confusion. Both of them. And what is really is no such thing as interracial, because there's only one race, and that's the white race. Belonging belonging to a race serves no purpose except to mistreat people based on color. That's all it's good for. No one should belong to a race of people. Why? Because the purpose of race is to practice racism. And the purpose for practicing racism is to dominate and mistreat people based on the factors of color, non-color. That's the only purpose it has.
Mm-hmm.
Dominate and mistreat in order to gain fun, glory, and material benefit. That's what the classifications of white, non-white, white supremacists, all manufactured by the white supremacists for that purpose. Mm-hmm. So there's no such thing as interracial relationships. What it is just another form of domination of people in the system of white supremacy who are classified as non-white.
All right.
If you're classified as black, brown, red, yellow, tan.
This is Brother Neely Fuller Jr., for those who don't know. Quite a hard person to find on the internet. And his book was quite difficult to get, to be honest. It was one of the big problems of many of the older scholars, whatever, distribution. That's something to sort out. But you can still get some of his views, and some of his views are interesting to break down to see, is there a way people can live that can improve your life under systems of racism and this kind of stuff. And we'll just carry on listening. But don't forget, family, the links there. If you want to jump in, feel free.
Beige, anything under the non-white categories, you are subject to the system of white supremacy anywhere on the planet 24/7. And so-called interracial relationships, that's just a facade that the white supremacists dreamed up. And they surface it and emphasize it at different periods of time in order to make non-white people think that racism has gone away. That's all it's good for. You see a white person walking down the sidewalk holding hands like you do in the Northwestern Hemisphere. Nowadays, you see a lot of it. And if you pay attention in a crowd, if it's a white person with a non-white person, now you'll see just general people just walking. I mean, just people just walking along, even in this 5 or 6 people in a group. They're just walking, and talking and whatnot. But if you pay strict attention, in many cases, not in all, if one of the persons, if it's 2 people walking, and one of the persons is what you would classify as a white person, and the other person is classified as a non-white person, and they are in supposedly some type of sexual relationship, or appears to be, male with female, for instance, many cases you will see them holding hands, where you don't see people ordinarily just walking along holding hands, even if they are in, let's say, a white male with a white female, and they are in what you call, quote unquote, romantic relationship. Most of the time, sometimes they're holding hands, most of the times they're not. Or a black male with a black female, and they're walking along. Every now and then you'll see them holding hands. Most of the time, not. They're just walking and talking to each other. But if it's a so-called interracial relationship, particularly a white person, a white male with a black female, you'll see that hand holding. They're sending a message. They're saying, look at us. We're liberal. We're all about each other. We are madly in love, etc., etc. That is what the message that I say that they're trying to send. But it's all showcasing.
So he's using the term racial showcasing. Let's see if he breaks that down, what he means by that.
Okay.
And most people who will look at that, if you walk down say a boardwalk, and, a leisurely type setting on a seashore, and you see what you might call a white, non-white couple, white man with a so-called Asian female, okay? And you'll see them walk a few paces, and then turn and look at each other and hold hands and maybe hug or something like that. Showcasing. That's what the code calls that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the effect of that? A non-white person looking at several people walking down a crowded boardwalk doing that, it gives you the illusion that the whole world is getting like that.
Okay.
It's just 2 or 3 couples. Keep that in mind. That's all that's going on there. Out of the millions and millions and millions. But it gives you the illusion that what? The race problem has been solved.
Okay.
If you just see 2 or 3 couples,
Right.
see.
Okay, so it's in there. So I guess what Needful is saying is that sometimes in certain communities where you see a lot of interracial relations, you might it might create the persona or the concept that actually there is no more race issues, and this is something I do come across. People use interracial datings as a proof that race relations are good and race issues are no longer an issue, that kind of stuff. And he refers to that as racial showcasing. And yeah, not really. And I think I guess where we're trying to take this discussion now is where's that thing? Blah blah blah. Is like sometimes does it also allow the person who you're dating to feel that they're comfortable to do things that they otherwise wouldn't do. And we have an issue looking at sister Whoopi and her boyfriend back in the 90s or 80s. I can't remember what it was. And he was very comfortable to wear blackface. Probably not now. Maybe he learned his lesson then. I don't know for sure. But it's like, does anyone know of an experience of that? Is there any truth to this kind of thing? Maybe not. Are you more safer to maybe not risk a person who might turn up to your wedding on blackface or your shindig and whatever? I don't know. Yeah, it's one of them things, right? Do you have to have some kind of code beforehand to explain what you can and can't do when dating black people? No idea. Who knows? Here we go. So welcome, Brother Kel. How's it going, brother?
How you doing, Brother Raven, man? Good to have you back, even though you were back last week. It's going all right, brother.
It's good to be back. Yeah. So today, this week, we're kind of like doing 2 topics that kind of intertwine because of Whoopi Goldberg. But Whoopi Goldberg recently made comments about the Jewish community. Saying that the Holocaust wasn't about racism, it was about power and this kind of stuff. And obviously the Jewish community came together and made her apologize. And this is something a pattern that we've been observing many weeks. And my take from that is a very good strategy by the Jewish people to control the narrative. And I think that's something that as black people we should be doing, as Pan-Africans and B1, that kind of stuff, of having institutions dedicated to make sure that when people say things that isn't in our best interest, we kind of stop it. And that might even include, I guess, black people who make music and videos that is a high percentage of undermining black progress and showing lifestyles that isn't really in the best interest of anyone. That might be an idea as well. But do you have any opinions, I guess, about this topic at all, in any capacity at all, Brother Carol?
Well, Neela Fuller Jr. is absolutely right in regards to it's definitely a political movement. And also that the African descendants needs to look at non-African people as, missionaries, that are coming into your embodiment and reaping what they can to tell their community how you think, how you operate on those bases. And the reason why I say missionaries, brother, is that last week was very interesting. How you was saying, I mentioned that we should have chanting to remind ourselves. And the reason why that is, brother, is that although we're all human beings, but we need a language and a code to
Oh, I think he's been cut, but while he gets back, Empress Kush, welcome to the broadcast.
Bless up, family. How are you, Brother Raven?
Very good, thank you very much.
Good. Feels like a while since I've been on it, even though I don't think it has been. It just feels like it. But I've been in the chats probably. But it's nice.
You've always been working good, doing the important stuff, the hard stuff, really.
Well, you know, that's what the sisters have always been doing. You know, we're helping even behind the scenes, helping the brothers.
Yeah, so you know, family. The sisters have always helped behind the scenes, helped with the forums and stuff, and we couldn't do it without them. But saying that, we definitely always want to get the woman perspective of many of the topics, because sometimes it could just be a circular talk with men, and without getting that female energy, we might not be able to really conclude it the same kind of way. So we always invite all sisters to come on, and that's no different today. If you're a sister, please click on the link and jump in. Also, you're back, Kel. Good to see you. How's it going, bro?
The connection. As I was saying is that we have to see them. For example, whenever you see a European or a collective, you should view them as ice people. And the reason why that is that what it's going to do is it's going to register in your brain that your nature and their nature is not the same. It will help you to deal with them a bit more better in regards to using strategies to deflect their negative energy. Likewise with the Asian people, they should be referred to as mountain people, and as well as the Arabs as the sand people, to make a differentiation between your nature and theirs. And also, I was saying that whenever they are, we're in an interracial relationship with them, they should be classed as missionaries who are to study you and go back to the power structure to read from you.
Very interesting. This is a very good, very interesting talk. I mean, there was a book called the Sun People and the and the Snow People. I can't remember now. It's so long ago.
Was it Ice People? Ice People.
The Ice People. There you go. I don't know if that's a similar concept. It's from there.
It is from there. Leonard Jeffries, great Pan-Africanist. It is from there. Yeah, it is.
Yes. Excellent. And that's what we want to do on this show as well. We definitely always want to reference people so we can post and get people Google and find works and and buy it from their local Black-owned store. If they don't have that, then preferably an online version. But yeah, we want to get back in the habit of Black people, African people coming together and find solutions and that good stuff. And this is all good stuff. And we definitely want to invite new people to come in to give their opinion and to join and create new networks. That's what we're all about here. Empress Kushi, you've joined. Is there anything you would like to add or not add to the topic at hand at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that got said in regards to Baba Neely Fuller, but in regards to and bless up, Brother Cal. It's nice to see you on the panel.
Bless up, sister.
Bless up, bro. I'm quite surprised. I mean, okay, I'm just quite surprised because I didn't know that this actually happened until recent. In regards to Whoopi Goldberg and her partner then turning up to an event publicly like that, and she's standing by his side. So that's just blown me away. But that's by the by, I guess. In regards to the issue that she's facing, in regards to that, I find it interesting. I'm really trying to, as soon as I saw this come up, I just thought to look at this as a case study, because this is reoccurring. This is always happening, and they're always going to be there to remind you what they will and will not tolerate. And I really wanted to look at this and see how different communities are approaching this. So and brothers, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that they're making it very clear that they are wanting the world to know, and they're using Whoopi Goldberg, who is, let's be honest, she's a very known Black female in white Hollywood. I mean, even we can talk about music, and there's some artists that we all love at a certain age that people maybe 5-10 years don't really know about, but people kind of know still of Whoopi, if that makes sense, which is on its own quite an achievement, right? And she's on The View again, so she's constantly in these people's face. If you didn't know about her, or there's a certain topic that might come up on The View, she then uses that opportunity to remind people that I've either worked with this person, or this is my another achievement, I've done this back in the day. She just reoccurringly position herself and reminding people, if you don't know about me, this is who I am, kind of thing. So the fact that they've picked Whoopi to use this as an opportunity to as an example, to tell you all, or tell us all, that okay, if you don't know, now you know, we are a different race. Because what she actually said to me, if I was liberal and everything else, just perfect for media, I don't necessarily think that she said anything against the Jewish people.
No.
And what the issue for them was just the fact that she said that they're not classed as white. She said that they are white. This is not an issue of race. She said that this is an issue of people being bad to people. There was one white group who were the Nazis, who were attacking another white group who were Jewish people. And they did not like that. So they used that opportunity and that was a perfect opportunity. She was a perfect pawn, right? Because everybody, The View is quite a well-watched middle class, and then it's jumped from like ABC, CNN, everywhere. So everyone knows about it. So it's worked, right? So they've used her as an example. But for me, it was the argument this time. It was the argument of, okay, now we've let you know with the likes of Wiley, Nick Cannon, what you can and can't say. We're also letting you know they're actually, they're just using different examples to educate people, if that makes sense. I hope that wasn't too long-winded, but to me, that's how I'm looking at it. And I'm also finding it surprising that nobody from the white community, I guess, what separate from the Jewish community, have anything to say about this. They're not saying, they're not saying anything about this one. I just think if it was any other ethnic group, maybe they'd say something. They're not really stepping into this argument. They're not saying, well, you are one of us, or, oh, you don't want to be white, or there's nothing. It's very mute, if that makes sense, which is quite surprising.
Right.
And my last point, so I hope you brothers are getting my points, because I do want to hear your opinions on them. And my last point is, I was very interested in how the Black community are reacting to it. And I just think that whether you like Whoopi or not, she's been used as a pawn and an example, and she's part of the Black community. And I feel that if it was the Jewish community, for example, and the shoe was on the other foot, I don't think the first thing they'd do is just bash Whoopi and say all the things that's bad about her. I think that they would back her, or they're just quiet, but they wouldn't outly bash her. So you got like the white community, you ain't even really talking. Well, the non-white Jewish community, who are not even, I can't even hear their voices. And the Black people, they're just kind of saying, well, it's Whoopi. Do you know what I mean? So I'd just like to know your points on those.
Well, very, very well placed. Covered very many bases, and I definitely agree. And the analysis is well needed, and that is a good angle to look at it. As in, obviously the consistency of what's happened before, and also the fact that who is really coming to Whoopi Goldberg's aid, if anyone. I think she doubled down on one show where she tried to explain herself, and then I think the next following day or something on Twitter, she gave an apology. And I think that it is like, what if we break down what was the apology like? I think what Sister Kush was saying is that it was that she didn't recognize. She recognized mistreatment, but she didn't recognize it as a racist mistreatment. She recognized it as a hatred mistreatment, domination mistreatment. While the Jewish people, and when we actually hear the breakdown by the guy from where is that?
The Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah, he said something interesting that we should hear again. Which one is it? Oh, it must be here because it's black.
Definitely. I hope you've got the one where he referenced Nick Cannon as well, which was so cheap. Like the subliminals, like they're letting us know. So yeah.
Let's say it now. If we can say it.
We need people on good faith on the left and the right to call this out forcefully, fully, without hesitation.
And studies show.
Was that? Did they say about me hearing it? Let me. Oh yeah, here we go. He comes in. Yeah, right about there. Let's play it.
Been murdered.
That might not fit exactly or feel different than the way we think about race in 21st century America, where primarily it's about people of color. But throughout the Jewish people's history, they have been marginalized, they have been persecuted, they have been slaughtered, in large part because many people felt they were not just a different religion, but indeed a different race.
Interesting how he spoke, because he essentially, I would assume he's Jewish. Would you say? Am I wrong? That individual there?
Definitely.
And he did said that other people would view them not just as a religion, but also as a race. So he's talking about how people perceive them, but he's not really saying, he's talking about how others perceive him, but he's not really saying what their stance is. But they know their stance is when Whoopi didn't perceive them as a race. This is negative.
Exactly. And you know what? There's another interview. I did send it to you where he's saying that because he's it's the black, is it Don or John Lemon? You know, the CNN black guy. He was talking to him. Yeah. And he was using a lot of references, obviously, towards, you got to play it, but I know that you're doing some editing on it now, so I'm not sure if you'll be comfortable in playing it. It's one of the links I sent you, but he was making a lot of references to obviously black people. And he did say that because the black man was saying to him, okay, are you saying the issue is that because it was based on the race? So he was saying, are you saying now that people cannot say that the Jewish are white people? Because she said an example, right? She said that if the KKK, if 3 people were walking down and 2 of her Jewish friends were walking down with her on the road, and then they saw the KKK coming up, she'd run. But she said that 2 of her friends could walk through because by looking at them, you can't physically know that they're Jewish. Right, so that he posed that question to him. And then he started saying things like, well, race is a social construct. It was made on racist eyes, but he was constantly saying, but when we were going for our oppression, it was on the basis that we were not of that race, of the Aryan race. So I was thinking exactly what you were saying, because he's basically saying that we inherited this from Hitler. He told us we're not a race. So now we're going full-hearted with it. And I was thinking, wow, what a stance. So I was definitely on those lines with you, because then you turn around and that's the sole purpose why you're getting at Whoopi now. Yeah. So I was definitely thinking that. It's crazy.
But Brother Raven,
go ahead, brother.
All well and done, it's happened. But the reality of it, brother, what is the black community gonna do to help Whoopi? You see, here's the thing, brother. A lot of the time, we will say, well, the black celebrities don't help us out, they don't fund, right? But at the same time, brother, is that the black celebrities are in a very detrimental situation, that their money is tied with the non-Africans, right? And on the other side is their community doesn't help them with institutions, as well as vice versa. So now that she's done that, right, which is very valuable, because what we've learned is the contradiction, the race structure thing, which is good for us to learn political scientific way. But at the same time, she's been suspended. So is there an institution that the black community are going to provide for her, so she doesn't have to rely on apologies and rely on the non-Africans again?
What do you call a black? Is this a joke? What do you call a black man who had a fight with his white girlfriend? Homeless. Okay, I know that's a troll. I thought that. I don't know what that is. Cool. What you said there is a perfect point. We're gonna carry on the show. And I'm gonna download. Don't know how long it'll take. 28 megabytes. Okay, cool. Because when it comes to playing videos, I know we get strikes, so I need to put it through my Blackifier. But I think I think what Brother Kel's been saying this since the beginning, and everyone has also mirrored it, and it is like at the end of the day, the money talks and the power talks, and unfortunately, the reason why we talk about black networks and institutions, because if you don't have that network, if you don't have that institution, then you will rely on I guess the groups who are shutting things down to dictate what can and can't be done, and what should and shouldn't be said, and that's just the history of how things are. So yeah, I guess we can't stress it anymore. Like how I think one thing I was always going to do as well maybe from the American side as well. Is because obviously in the UK, unless someone can show me otherwise, I don't know too many mainstream, if any, like black-owned media-based institutions and this kind of stuff. But in America, there's some big corporate ones. I forget the name, but I have to show the image because once again, all those corporate ones are owned by either Europeans or Asians, and and there was a time when obviously we mentioned when BET was owned by a husband and wife, like brother and sister, but they sold it, and they said by their own testimony that as soon as they sold it, it became very it didn't care about the moral compass of black people, and I think that's something that we should be talking about, like because essentially many things are going on here, but I guess from one standpoint, there's a narrative that the Jews want to maintain about how they want people to perceive them, and someone is going against that, and I guess that could actually correlate in like in England and the US, where there's a lot of kind of like degradation kind of based content, and not really balanced of anything of any substance there, and are we happy with that? And obviously we're not the ones actually putting that out. But obviously it is being put out, and that's because I guess non-black companies don't have to necessarily care about the moral compass of our community.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's what I've been saying, that we need our own replica of the Anti-Defamation League, period.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we get a group of people with the right mindset who are solely responsible for shutting down these negative images, is the only way that we can install fear for these people. When the next, God forbid, but it's highly likely, when the next crime or the next whatever happened to brother Floyd happens, and there's a big uproar and everybody all of a sudden wants to start seeking redemption, these are the foundation institutions we should already have ready. Like they should already have a script ready. They should already know what to say. They should already have key people to talk to when you want to talk on the news and talk from the black perspective. They shouldn't have to. There should never be another incident like this, which is what happened before, which is bound to happen again, and no institution to talk for us. Yeah. If not, we're going to have the Cardi B's, rappers and comedians and foolish people talking on our behalf, and that will continue to happen. Because the next time something does happen, and we can have an institution and the right type of institution, a Pan-African based institution, a black betterment type of institution. So if this happens, when they say what can we do or who do we go to, right, you can go and do this, or you need to do that, or you need to stop doing this, or this. It needs real hard hitting information, factual information that is best for our community, instead of other people who skate over the issue, make the other person feel comfortable, and all of this rubbish and all this same old rhetoric that we're continuously getting. That's the reason why at the end of the day, people might be scared, people might be bored of them. Some people don't even know that this league forms. But as soon as something happened in regards to Jewish people, who did they call? The CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. And he told you, everybody, how it's going down. She's getting suspended. We now want to be classed as another race. And if you're not sure, why don't you talk to my friend Nick Cannon? He'll tell you what happened to him. Right. Like blatantly in an interview. So it's like, until we stop doing the same old okie doke, the same old stuff is going to happen. We know this is going to happen, and we're not going to have anyone with any real substance to talk on our behalf or to direct institutions, legislation, money, anything in the area that we need it to put in. Like, we need to look at it. We need to be serious and see this as a serious game and understand how to play it.
Excellent. Yeah. What am I doing here? Yeah. So that was amazing, by the way. That's true. And one thing I was thinking as you were saying that is maybe an exercise I could start doing in some of the weeks to come is actually start doing a concept of like what does that look like? Like what do we need? What could it potentially do? What sectors will it be based in? And we can come up with a concept, and then that concept could grow to the point where at a certain point we're actually reaching out to actually start some kind of think tank, defense mechanism, Negro definition league, whatever you know what I mean. Whatever,
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
Brother Raven, it goes into what Dr. Claude Anderson says, man. You know what I mean? If you formulate as a group, right, and then that group formulates businesses, the businesses goes into buying a politician or renting a politician.
Exactly.
Then after that, you buy the police department and the court system. After that, you buy the media to have your agenda, whether it be on the radio station, television, right? And then that is the solution, brother, because it's sad what happened to Whoopi, However, brother, we've got to stop being imaginative, right? Where is our institution now? You see, she's rich, right? But because she's unsynchronized as an African descendant, right? It's led for her to be selfish, just like a lot of the African millionaires descendants. But if Dr. Claude Anderson made it clear in his blueprint, brother, right, that we are in a position to formulate a group business from there, it goes into the politicians, renting them, then after that, media, owning the system, we can do them things. I remember one time, brother, there was one of my Hebrew Israelite friends, because he was trying to tell me about the Jewish people are they're not the original Jews, and he put you on Speaker's Corner, and you was debating a white guy who was trying to convince you that he was dark skinned. I don't know if you can remember.
Okay, a white guy was he North African or was he European?
No, he was. He said that he's Jewish. It's on one of the talks he was doing. Speaker's Corner, right? Right. But I couldn't, my friend, he was getting wound up by it, and I can understand because he is of the Hebrew Israelite. However, that European guy who's claiming to be dark skinned, he can say that, brother, because his community, as it pertains to Europeans, right, are in a position of power, economics, and security. So as what Dr. Claude Anderson says, right, because they have that, they can classify whoever they want to be white, and they can even pretend that they don't associate with white because they have that power and that security, as well as propaganda and religious business culture with it as well. So it returns back to, brother, that we have to have our institutions rapidly and ASAP to stop all this confrontation upon us, man.
Yeah, but on the back of what Brother Cal said, what I've just explained to you about the interview that he was doing when he was juggling and confused and blurring the lines because of, in regards to the race, it also came up that he said that, that Jewish people are not just white, there's black Jews. This is what the guy said, the CEO said, right? But then in the same breath, you've just said that you're not a race. So how many races are there, and what would you call your particular race? Because you've said that you're not white when it suited your angle. And then when you're talking to John now, and you're trying to because he was saying at one point that black people and Jewish people should work together. Our history are really the same. We need to start moving forward together. All of this, yeah. And then you can see that when you own an institution, this is just basically what happens in our life anyways. Like, look what's happening with Boris and everything else. This is just a mini version that's very strong. That's just basically telling you we can chop and change whenever we want. They're blurring the lines. They're doing whatever they're doing, and they're twisting it. And they're talking to people who are in places and positions of news and broadcasters, and they're saying this freely. And everyone's nodding their head because they're too scared to even say that none of this makes sense now. Because their whole thing is to make sure, because it's so funny that Brother Cal mentioned Claude Anderson, because I don't know if you remember, Brother Raven, when I came on to in your show and I did something about business, it was all based on that blueprint that he was talking about. So to me, it's just like when you're looking at what they're doing, they are literally doing a mini version of what we're all going through now, and they're getting away with it. To have interviews and people nodding up and down when you're clearly not really answering a question, and you're even contradicting yourself on what you just said before. But that's the whole premise of this Jewish issue that I find, right? That they make it so you just don't even dare say our name, right? Because you don't know what you're doing right now. We're blurring it up, that we just want it to be known that we do not want anything negative said about Jewish people. And when I did that show with you, that's what I said, because I went back to the history. I was using the Jewish people as an example, the Jewish community as an example. And if you remember when I started at the beginning, that has been embedded in them since the days of Hitler. They made that. The guy came on there. Remember, I made it a point to get someone from the Jewish community who was getting interviewed, and he said that from that point they made it a point that they made sure that they don't want anything said about Jewish people, even if it could be perceived as positive. So you've got the people like Jay-Z and Michael Jackson who said things that weren't necessarily negative, right? They were saying that these people have done it this way, they're making it this way, that's what we should do, and they still got shut down. So they blare the line so much where you're just like, you know what, I better just not talk about them, right? Because I'll get in trouble. So you can't even talk about the confusion. That's power.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, I do remember I was at Speaker's Corner talking about. I think I was talking to black people about observing Jewish behavior and learning from it. And I remember there was one Jewish brother there who's I think like a red beard, and I've seen him but quite a lot, to be honest. And he took offense by this. I remember even just mentioning that was a bit of a problematic thing. But also I am now remembering talking to a shorter Jewish individual who I think Brother Kel was talking about. And I think when I was talking to him, we were talking mainly about the treatment of Ethiopian Jews. I don't know if that was what, because there was a time I spoke to him quite a bit, to be honest.
He had because the only reason I'm talking about this is because we're under. So, but he had like black hair. But what standing out to me, he was trying to convince everybody that he's dark skin, right? And he looked like he could be from Germany. That was the interesting thing. It's just that because he's got that power of that European alliance, he can say them things, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear that. So I'm at the moment now. I've actually I've put the video through the Blackifier, and I'm going to. It's on 70% at the moment, so I'm gonna upload it in a minute or so, so we can listen to what Empress Kush was talking about. How long now? Okay, extra encoding. Oh, so it needs more encoding. Right there. So yeah, we'll talk and we'll put it when it comes in. But let's see what we've got in the. Is there anything we can read out here? Big up WIM. Feel free to jump in, brother. Jews are a protected group. Hopefully one day the black man, the African, and the Negro will be a protected group as well. This is my statement, but not his. And we need to take note and move. Okay, there we go. So we're on the same page. Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. It's very, very impressive. And obviously what you got to understand is to an extent, black people around the world are a bigger population. Well, it's not the case than the Jewish population. And I think Jewish people always knew that. So their thing was to try to get into positions of power, but not necessarily rock the boat when it comes to representation. So there was that kind of, because it's a double-edged sword. Because with Jewish people, they can actually like dress differently, and then it's assimilate into being European or white. So the idea is they can make films where they star Jewish people, directors are Jewish, but they don't necessarily have to make Jewish-based content from the religious cultural standpoint, but they can still benefit from the economics that is generated. And there was a book where it said, I forgot the book name, but it was the concept to get many Jewish people into Hollywood. I should remember it, but my mind's gone blank. Very interesting. But yeah, it's bounced down now, so let's see if I can move it. Let's go share video. There we go. Where did it go? Hold on. Video production. Is it this one? It's not that one. I don't know where it's gone. Maybe it's that one. Hold on. It's this one. That one. This one. It's not that one. This one. I can't find it. Sorry, guys. Give me 14.
Breaking news on me.
No. All right.
I think as well, though, while you're doing that, I will just say that I think right now, realistically, as a people, the thing that we could do of like-minded people, the first thing that we can do, it won't cost us anything, and the easiest thing to do is to move accordingly how they move in code. When I was doing my my show with you, I was really looking into their history, and they have had you know, they've had reparations, and that has helped them to get into certain positions. Yeah. They've always had an element of finance behind them, which has helped them gain generational wealth. Mm-hmm. So those are things that we can't necessarily have right now.
No.
And those things we can't deny are a heavy factor of why they are in the power that they are in, right? We're in an economic world, right? So if you are in the money, you're going to be in a good position. But I would say that what we can do right now is move accordingly in code. And I think that that would have a lot of power, and that would move us in towards the position. I think it'll give us more power than people think, and it would move us into the position of economic wealth. And
excellent. Then we got Sister Tash. For those who know, Sister Tash joined us a few weeks ago. And
nice to see you. You're going to click on the link, sis?
Let me put it. She's always welcome. That's to say that one thing that we don't do, or we need to do more, I should say, is sometimes we don't give people their flowers when they're here, and we don't mention some of the good work. So obviously, we have Empress Kush. Yes, Empress Kush behind the scene does so much. And we have to big her up. And also Sister Tash as well specializes in networking and making connecting Black people together and stuff. So we have to give the sisters their roses. And also Brother Kel, who's well versed in knowledge about Pan-Africanism and the consistency of why we might need it, the practice. So these we have to give thanks, and we have to be consistent in that. Let me just push the link. Right now the video's been blackified. So while we push the link out there, I can't jump to certain points. So let's I'm going to play it, Sister Cushion. If there's anything you want me to stop or start, let me know. Is that okay?
Yeah, no problems.
Let's play this now. Okay,
this is our breaking news tonight. Whoopi Goldberg suspended from The View for 2 weeks. That's according to ABC News. The president of ABC News saying that she asked Whoopi to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments she made saying that the Holocaust isn't about race. Whoopi did appear on The View today and made this apology. Here it is.
I said something that I feel a responsibility for not leaving unexamined, because my words upset so many people, which was never my intention. And I understand why now. And for that, I am deeply, deeply grateful, because the information I got was really helpful and helped me understand some different things. And while discussing how a Tennessee school board unanimously voted to remove a graphic novel about the Holocaust, I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race. Now, words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people, as they know, and y'all know, because I've always done that.
So after her apology, she and the other hosts of The View spoke with Jonathan Greenblatt. Jonathan is the CEO and National Director of the Anti-Defamation League, and he joins me now. I watched it today. Jonathan, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you coming on. Let's have this conversation. First of all, I have to ask you about the news now, the breaking news. ABC News suspending Whoopi for 2 weeks. What do you think of that decision?
Well, look, Whoopi Goldberg is literally one of the most visible women in television. The View is watched by millions and millions of people every single day. And her comments did cause tremendous confusion and hurt, particularly in a Jewish community, which Think about it, Don. It's less than a week after Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's but, 10 days since a rash of anti-Semitic flyering across the country. It's 2 weeks after the hostage taking in Texas. It's 6 months after Jews were beaten in broad daylight by, anti-Israel activists. There are a lot of reasons why the Jewish community is concerned. But for me, she apologized last night online, and then she did so again this morning. And I accept her apology. I know she's been a friend of the Jewish community all throughout her career, and I respect that and appreciate it. I can't comment on ABC News' internal process, but what I will say is that I hope Whoopi can use the next 2 weeks for a process of introspection and learning, right? I don't think Holocaust Remembrance Day should be one day of the year. We can learn about the Holocaust 365 days, just like today is the first day of Black History Month, Don, but I don't think we should confine our thinking about Black history to just 28 days. So let's hope that she can use this time, use this opportunity, and use her amazing platform to educate herself and to share what she learns with her audience and with the country at large. Visit the Holocaust Museum, meet with survivors, work with the ADL. There are lots of ways Whoopi can make a huge difference, and I hope she'll do that.
Does intent matter? I mean, words matter, of course, but does intent matter, Jonathan, especially in this situation?
Well, look, of course intent matters. I mean, it's really important that people say what they mean and they mean what they say. And so again, I think when she was talking yesterday about these issues, and I think she really, again, created a kind of confusion and hurt, because the Holocaust was absolutely about race. It was a racialized anti-Semitism, Don. And again, that might not fit with the way that some people think about race, the way all of us as Americans have to confront it in this country, in this time, when Black Americans are still dealing with the legacy of Jim Crow and enslavement and systemic oppression. And yet, race is a social construct, and it shows up differently in different societies. And so again, if we look back to Germany, the Nazis believed that they were the master race and Jews were a subhuman race. And they
Jews
literally
the inferior race.
waged
That's
a war.
what they believed,
Yeah. And they waged a war of extermination against the Jewish people because of this belief in race. That's undeniable.
Brother Nathan, do you mind pausing?
I want to get through.
Go ahead, jump in.
I find it so fascinating when he said that race is a social construct and it shows up differently in different countries and different situations.
Yeah, the irony of that is surely that would now mean that there should be no punishment towards Whoopi because she just said that her definition of race is different from the historical one, right? So
right, exactly. Do you see the confusion? And if you're not really focusing and looking at how we look at it, that could just go all. They're so clever in how they're doing this. And he's talking to a Black man, and he's taking all of these, things that are emotion, that rile up emotion in Black Americans, and using that to co-sign what he's saying. You should understand, we've been through this as well. Even when he asked him, do you think that she should get the 2 weeks? This is what I'm talking about the code, right? When he said, do you think that she should be suspended for 2 weeks? He said, look, she's apologized once, then she apologized again. I accept her apology. We accept her apology, but maybe she should take this time to reflect, really think about it. Do your research, go to some museums. Do you see what I mean about the code? But yeah.
And that's obviously because two things. One, I remember, I think there was like an alliance called the Black Jewish Entertainment Alliance, I think, and I think I've stumbled on the website. Let me put it in the thing, I don't know. But I remember seeing this where a lot of Black celebrities from the States, I think not general of the world, not just the States, sorry, and they were doing this Jews and Blacks Unite. I don't know the reason behind it, what it is, but yeah, it's there we go. I think what a lot of Black activists say historically is there are many people group who can actually latch on to the suffering of Black people in the context of the country where they're at, and have this false sense of equilibrium and the same going on, but then use that to elevate their group and then obviously towards the end they disconnect and go back to
Forget about the group that you used to climb up the ladder. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why I think Black Burma is very important, because Black Burma is Black people and Black issues, you know, and it's like it's
you
only
cut out the middleman, you cut out that even happening. Exactly.
So if someone like myself was to participate in something like that, it would have nothing to do with Black Batman. It wouldn't be something I could put on my resume. It wouldn't be something I could even cover in a show unless I was describing some form of what not to do. So I wouldn't know. But that, and that's the thing. Like, I think as Black people, we're very quick to give other people authority over the direction we should be going in. And I think part of the training should be recognizing that and actually trying to reverse that. WIM, to be honest, I think he was trying to relate a scenario which people would understand. I'm not doing. Feel free to jump in, WIM, if you've got something to say. Just so you can break it down for us. Shall we continue playing, Empress? Would you continue playing?
Yeah, I just want to reply. Like, I think he was doing that as well, but you don't necessarily. You don't have to remind African Americans about the struggle that they've been through.
No,
this is about Whoopi and what she said, and about the race thing. You know, you've said that she's apologized over and over again. You've mentioned it's been 6 months since Israel. It's been 2 weeks since this. It's been a month since this. Do you know what I mean? You're focusing that impact. You're letting us know. To use that, I think, is like a form of gaslighting, or not necessarily gaslight. I don't know what the correct word is, but it's just trying to pull the heartstrings and just gain that kind of, you know. I don't know what the correct word is. It escapes me now, but I just think that there's something more to that. I agree that that's the case, but I think there's a bit more to that. If that.
It's definitely using a political science.
Absolutely.
Definitely using that, which is why I agree with Brother Raven that Black betterment needs to be worldwide and advocated. Is that to combat this, we're going to have our own institution to help people like Whoopi Goldberg, who, you know, decides to be synchronized every once in a while when she's speaking on truthful matters. So when she does get suspended, she can say to herself, well, I've been suspended from a European institution. I'm going to go to the African institution. But unfortunately, we cannot put her down too much. We cannot put her down too much, because if she doesn't apologize, where is she going to go after that?
Exactly.
Can't go to the African institution, because we prefer to use our money to fund interracial relationships and fund other people's institutions that don't look like us. So she has no other option, like Brother Nick Cannon, to apologize, which makes them look weak. But unfortunately, where is the institution?
And I notice they've got a pattern as well when you say make them look weak, because it's always never once. This man emphasized a lot of times that she apologized twice. And it's like, same with Nick Cannon. That man had to go on an apology tour. So I've noticed that as well. But yeah, so go ahead, brother.
What I noticed as well when the brothers and sisters step out of line and get corrected is that they go on this kind of tour of like, here's why what you're doing is not good for Jewish people, right? I think maybe that kind of strategy might work for us when we talk to ourselves, in the sense of maybe trying to charge people with, like, if well, you know what, maybe not even charge the artists, charge the record labels and go,
absolutely,
here's what happens when you let all these children just make one type of sound or one type of film or one type of magazine, whatever it is, and you don't show a different diverse kind of representation of the culture. You help perpetuate stereotypes that really doesn't help our community flourish at all. And maybe that might be the strategy, to say that we actually charge the labels and we actually educate them on, like, and we can use other people's examples, like, well, here's how other people represent themselves, and here's how you're representing us, because you are the authority, because these kids are not the executive directors of anything, but you are releasing what they're saying. So maybe like some kind of responsibility thing would be good, even just as an entertaining exercise to see. I don't know.
Well, this is where the black version would come in, because they'd come in and say that's wrong, and this is what you've got to do in regards to get back into our good graces, i.e. the apology tour. And it kind of goes back to what Brother D Nokai was doing, you know, when he was talking about how, I forgot what they were doing, but they were researching different things in regards to the community that never gets researched. So they can offer these researches up when they're saying that, look, you're damaging this has a direct effect. We've done our own research. Because when they're talking about black people, I always say it, I've never known none of my family have been these people that have been called up for these surveys that you're talking about that represents me in this country.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying, that it's never going to work. I'm convinced now that it's never going to work unless we get our own institution, and our own institution is made up, like you said, of different departments. That is just one aspect of it, is getting up these figures as proof, right? And the other side is understanding that as soon as this happens, there's a team that just shuts it down. You know, this goes mad on Twitter, it goes mad, you know what I mean? And you've got the people who are media ready. This is a big thing. I don't think you could name many people who are in this anti-defamation league either. You know, you know what I mean? This is an incel powerhouse. You'll only know about us when you need to, and that's when we're letting you know who we are and our power, and we're shutting you down publicly.
So I'm looking at Jonathan Greenblatt, the Jewish CEO, and the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, formerly known as the Anti-Defamation League of Bahar, is an international Jewish governmental organization. So it's non-governmental. So who is funding it?
Exactly.
Where do they get in funding?
Exactly.
They've got a total operating revenue reported of 80 million. Right?
Ooh.
Yeah, so
revenue. So what are they doing to gain that revenue?
Yeah, well, this is maybe we need to.
There's one thing to be an investor, but revenue is that you're generating income.
Yeah.
So what kind of business are you doing? This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm only saying this is that we should be doing this, and we could do this better. We should have been doing, and this is what I'm saying. It's the same old okie doke now, bro, because the same old thing is going to happen. It's going to be another black person is going to say something out of line, and they're going to come and shut them down. No institution. There's going to be another brother that's been violated, another sister's going to be violated, and no institution to back us up. The school system, everything, our healthcare. Until we start going incel with like-minded people, it don't have to be a lot, and just start. This is going to constantly happen.
The problem we're having, sister, or Jewish Spetia, is the unsynchronized Africans. I have noticed, right, we can label the the Europeans, the Middle Easterns, and the Asia, and we should for political scientific reason. But the unsynchronized Africans, right, unfortunately, and I've said this to Brother Raven before, that we may have to, brother, politically scientific first before military. We're gonna have to be a bit more intense and harsh with them, because they are causing a lot of backlash onto us. You know, they are the reasons why we're in the situation that we are. And it needs to be focused on them as well as the non-Africans. You know what I mean?
Very true. I agree. I can't disagree more. I can't agree much. You said, sorry. And one thing is we were talking about words, and that is why the concept of black betterers and this kind of stuff is important. And the videos that I've made have been unfortunately taken down for some reason. I've done quite a lot of debates on some brothers' Instagrams recently, and I think maybe I went too hard or something. I'm not too sure, but the stuff's been taken down. But in that, one of the reasons why many brothers were not best pleased is because they wanted to have certain actions and get certain titles. And I think what I don't want to happen to anything that we're doing here is I don't want people to be confused on what pro-black means. Like, so now when I type pro-black, the only thing that comes up is, can you be pro-black and date non-black women, right? And marry non-black women, this kind of stuff. And I'm like, is that what the pro-black has become? Wondering if you can put your feet in here and in your feet in there. And I'm saying with black betterment, there is no question that everything is within everything, every concept. And it doesn't matter how good you are as a person. It's black people helping black people, black issues. Done. Yeah, if we don't understand that, then once again, it's the unsynchronized people who are doing the whole kumbaya and spreading the minimal resources we have across the pond, and that just can't work. So I think that is one way of how I would draw a line in the sand. Where it's like, here's what we are, and here's what we do. We're black betterers, meaning we're black people who want to fix black issues, and we're inward in our solution. So anything that doesn't correlate with that, you're a black person, isn't it? You're not a black betterer. You're a black person, and that's good because we're here to help you. But we understand that you might not be able to help yourself because basic politics and basic survival strategies you don't seem to even embrace, even on any percentage. Like the opposite is true. Everything you say is against that progress. While when you look at the Jewish community, they have an entire league that's been going since 1913 that is making a revenue of 80 million.
Right.
So clearly we're batting, on the wrong side there. We're doing something slightly inadequate, or ever so slightly.
Was that 8 million?
80.
Wow, 80.
Yeah.
But Brother Raven, would you say, brother, that we need a tangible tactic to help the African understand socialism correctly? That it's temporary, not permanently. Would you say that, my brother?
Yeah, I think establishing transitional. I have to think of a word, but transitional tactics, whatever. Right, where it's like in this transitional period, in order to stay afloat, there's certain things we do now that isn't going to be constant, right? So yeah, there's certain ideas from the past that might seem good, but ultimately we can only take them so far. At some point, we have to be more inward in our solutions or whatever. I don't know. Very interesting.
The reason I said that for, brother, is that you and I know best, brother, and Sister Kushti. There's a problem when it comes to explaining to our people that interracial relationship is based upon economics and not love.
Yes.
They don't seem to understand that. And because they don't seem to understand that, is that they intentionally and unintentionally make alliance with the non-African who can afford to maneuver and be a white supremacist directly as well as indirectly and still go back to the community. There needs to be a codified way, brother. And you've done this already. I'm just saying to let the unsynchronized Africans understand that you are destroying our betterment.
Literally.
Yeah.
After that, we get when we finish watching the video with, if we do have time to go into the next topic that Brother Raven was talking about in regards to that, then I want to say something on that as well, because I agree. That was a powerful statement that he said there.
So how do we run it? Should I play this video or should I jump onto the image?
I don't think there's much left of it. Is there much left of this interview?
Well, it's about 50% at the moment.
Okay.
So should I play it or should I skip it? What do you want to do?
I think it's good to finish it off. I don't remember it being that long because he mentions Nick, and I just think it's just good to see it. And yeah.
We'll play it now, and if you want to pause again, let us know.
I won't, because I know I'm making it longer. I'm sorry.
No. To be fair, like I said, we always give extra privileges to the women of the group, so we will extend the show if need be. We've still got 36 minutes anyway, so we got time. But let's go.
Brilliant.
Let's go. If you need to stop it, we'll stop it because we're learning from this, so it's all good. Ready? Let's go.
Yeah.
A lot here, and I don't want to be rude, but I just want to get through. Like I said, I have a lot of questions to ask you because I do think that this is a teachable moment, right? And you said you stand in support of Whoopi because of her history, but you don't support the words the way she said it, and that's understand. I think there can be nuance there. So let's start there. We spoke with you last night. This was after Whoopi issued the statement, the apology. But before her previously taped interview with Stephen Colbert, before that aired, I want to play just part of that. So watch this, Jonathan.
If the Klan is coming down the street and I'm standing with a Jewish friend and neither one, well, I'm going to run. But if my friend decides not to run, they'll get passed by most times because you can't tell who's Jewish. You don't know. It's not something that people say, oh, that person is Jewish or this person is Jewish. And so that's what I was trying to explain.
So Colbert did push back on her, bringing up that Nazis marked Jews with yellow stars so that they could easily be recognized. Now, if you look at your screen, you can see a photo. This is from the 1940s. It shows just that. It was taken in the Lodz ghetto in Poland, right? How dangerous is the perspective that if you can't see someone's race on the outside, then they are safe from persecution? Do you think that that's dangerous?
We know that's dangerous, and it's flat out wrong. So a few things. The Nazi Nuremberg laws that regarded Jews as subhuman were based in part on the way that the laws about race existed in this country. That one drop of blood made a person Jewish, like they say one drop of blood made a person African American or black in this country. So indeed, you can't see necessarily who is black or Jewish. This is a social construct. And let me say something else, Don. Let's dispel the myth that all Jews are white. There are millions of Jews of color. Jews who are black and who are brown, who are Asian, Jews of all hues. So just because someone presents as white or black doesn't mean you know their identity. And so I really think we just need to dispel this myth, you know, that the Holocaust was white on white crime. Give me a break. This was a racist, horrific act of brutality. And if we think about those, like the KKK people, Don, who in her scenario would be chasing her down the street, let me tell you, they would chase her and me. Because anti-Semitism is at the beating heart of white supremacy.
Brother Raven.
Blacks and Jews, we have
Yeah,
so
please,
much.
Brother Raven, pause.
Brother Raven. Remember last week when I was saying that there were African freedom fighters who were helping the European Jewish community against Hitler?
Yes.
You remember, right? If you can get a chance, brother, to read upon that, if you have or not. Well, I was very interested in that. While they was rescuing them, the only reason they knew which was the Jewish people was that they were all in that particular house. But they couldn't tell them the difference between them and the Germans. So it's very interesting how that gentleman there is making it, he's saying that, well, you know, we'll get it because we've got the same color. But there was a differentiation when they were rescuing them, that they were in a certain particular house and a neighborhood. If they weren't in that neighborhood and house, then they would look exactly the same as the Germans.
Yeah, hence why they need the star. I mean, in Jim Crow segregation laws, they didn't need any stars, did they?
Exactly. And he's manipulating the whole situation because we was talking about the appearance of the persons. What they're wearing and what they've been put on them is irrelevant. And this is what I'm saying, that they can just what is so it's so ironic that you said that, or fitting that you started with Nilafula, where he was talking about the confusion. Yes. This is the first way that they go and attack us. Even Don, he couldn't even look in the mirror when the man said that it's the same thing, and how that the KKK would go for him too. He's looking down. He looked away. He looked real uncomfortable all throughout that, because he knows he cannot say anything. It's on CNN.
When I was going to Speaker's Corner, the Jewish people who talked to me, they were the reason why we started, because it was me talking about Ethiopian Jews and showing that in all areas of the world, those who are identified as black tend to be at the bottom. And the example was the Ethiopian Jews in Israel. And I think that's when they jumped in, and I was presenting the videos, but they were trying to present their opinions or whatever it might be. But once again, are the Ethiopian Jews the best treated in Israel? It doesn't seem so at the moment, at least back then. So but then once again, it's like we're all Jews, one race, but then again, we're different races within this one race, which is interesting. That concept.
And this is what I'm saying. They manipulate you. They try and get you on side to say that, oh, you know, I empathize with your struggle. I'm going through a similar struggle, brother, but I'm gonna literally just manipulate you and yeah. IC3 is right. That is a form of propaganda. That's what we're watching right now.
Interesting. You carry on playing.
Common, particularly that we have faced bigotry through the ages. And again, let's hope, Don, that through this moment we can find ways to work together to face the hate that threatens all of us.
Let me ask you, because as I am honestly, you know, and this is in real time, as I am interviewing you, I have people texting me, Jewish friends texting me. One of them is saying, censorship at its finest. I understood what she was trying to say. It was clumsy, but I don't think it was malevolent. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't know who your friend is, and I don't know exactly what the context of the tweet is, but let me just say this. We sometimes have people in public places who can say clumsy things about race or faith or gender. I don't believe in cancel culture. I like the phrase that my friend Nick Cannon uses. We need counsel culture. We shouldn't cancel Whoopi because she made a mistake, even if she made the mistake again on Colbert. You know, in the Jewish faith, Don, we have a concept called teshuvah. And teshuvah means redemption. It means all of us have the power to admit when we do wrong and to commit to doing better. I heard Whoopi say that she's committed to doing better. I accept that apology with the sincerity with which she delivered it. Again, to my face this morning on The View. And I'm committed, ADL is committed to work with her and to work with others who really want to use this as a teachable moment.
You know, this whole conversation, right, started with the book Mouse, right? The Pulitzer Prize winning book Mouse, and it's just about what people don't know about anti-Semitism. And Jonathan, there was a poll that most people, well, I shouldn't say most people, many people have no idea what the term anti-Semitism means in this country. So we need a lot of educating in this country.
We do.
What's the parting words here when people say, well, if you ask, you know, a lot of people on the street, you know, do you believe anti-Semitism exists? What is anti-Semitic? And so on. Are Jewish people, is it a race, or is it Judaism or religion or race, what have you? I think many people would have no idea. So what do we do in this? What do we do now from here?
Look, anti-Semitism, look, we're never going to beat anti-Semitism or hate of any kind by just arresting people or litigating. We need to change hearts and minds. It starts with education, right? It's the oldest hatred, and it's this conspiracy theory, Don, that's lasted for thousands of years and led to tremendous suffering for Jewish people and death, you know, over time, whether in Europe or the Middle East. When you demonize and delegitimize Jewish people or the Jewish state, you create the sparks for violence and hate, and that's just got to stop. The reality is Jews are less than 2% of the U.S. population, Don, and we're nearly 60% of the victims of faith-related hate crimes.
Right.
The numbers are astonishing, what we've seen, and just we're about 115% increase over the last 5 years. Jews have been targeted in our synagogues and our supermarkets and the places where we live. So anti-Semitism is a real issue for our community.
Cool, that's definitely it there. So, Brother Kel, were you talking about James L. Baldwin, the different James Baldwin, and his platoon? I don't know if I've got the thing here. Oh no, that was in Netherlands. That might be something. I don't know. I'm trying to find. I was trying to find the liberators that you said. The black liberators who helped defeat the Nazis and free the Dutch.
Yeah, there were 50 of them. Yeah, 50. They're called the African Freedom Fighters, and they were rescuing a lot of the European Jewish communities. Yeah.
Okay, African Freedom Fighters. If I can find, I haven't heard that one. All right, well, I'll look for that. And yeah, so what was I saying? Empress Christie had a request. Let's go back. I think you wanted to maybe add to we discussed non-black people who practice racism while staying black people. Do you want to add to that, Empress Christie?
Yeah, it's just because of what Brother Cal had said before. I think it just reminded me of that topic that you had on here as well. So I can't remember word for word what he was saying, but I do agree um, the possibility or the opportunity to just jump from one side to another side is very dangerous. So that's what kind of made me think of that as well, because although some people, if you're married to someone outside of the race and that person feels an entitlement because of their relationship, that's when it gets problematic. And that goes both ways. I've noticed as well that a lot of people who are in the person who is outside of the race, for example, they're talking up a lot as well. So this whole thing of the perception of making them weak, black men weak, is not looking good for black men, because they're talking almost like they're going to be the savior, or they're talking down on what's happening, or black women shouldn't be treated this way and stuff like that. So it brings another dynamic in where I feel that it's only going to make the black man look vulnerable, but I don't think that they're looking at it that deep. I don't think they see the game at all. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. And what I want to add to that, and this is like when we talk about words and strategies that we can use to make people see certain things. One word I want us to bring in is the word custodian. And the reason why it's very important, this might be a good strategy of how to get people synchronized with, is a custodian is a persons who are responsible for taking care of protecting something, right? And I think when Brother Kel was talking about love and economics, and that's a very good thing to like help you focus, because the word love in Disney will make a person just like I said, to be honest with you, most debates that's been taken offline with me recently has been about black men not picking black women, and this word love comes up a lot, this kind of stuff, right? And and it really does make black men, or just black people in general, just like lose their mind, like, and this kind of stuff, like responsibility. So one word I'm pushing forward is who is the custodian of black people? The Anti-Defamation League is a custodian group for the Jews, and they're very clear on what they want to do, and they're not going to end. So when we're talking about black love and economics and this kind of stuff, the word that when someone asks you, which is always weird, like, why do you support black love and black economics, whatever, it's because we're custodians of black people, aren't we? And I think what I'm trying to do with everyone here is establish who are the custodians. And let me just read out the thing. So Empress, let me put it on the big screen. So Empress, would you say that this practice is seen more often with black men and their non-black partners, as opposed to black women and their non-black partners? Question to you, Empress. Do you want to answer?
Yeah. I wonder what he means by, would you say this practice? I'm not sure what he means by that. But in regards, yeah.
We can ask. So when you get time, brother, if you could either jump in or send the message just to say what do you mean by that. But carry on while he does that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say in regards to what I was saying in regards to the outside, the non-partner, the example I was giving in regards where they're speaking down about the treatment that they're recognizing as happening to black women by black men, as a white man talking down to that, I've seen it more with white men saying that, and that is getting boosted higher by black women, so that look who's defending us. But in regards to the opposite side, I have seen a lot of things recently where white women, because of this quote unquote feminism or this allyism, are now exposing when they're with a black man, and they've said, oh, I've been with a black man who said that they don't like black women and it's a turn off. Or women who've been exposing their men saying it, with the camera on, and just saying, but your mum is just as black as the woman that you're cussing. Like, so I've been seeing both, if he's answering on that kind of side. What I'm saying is this dynamic is not helpful. And in regards to me saying this as a female, as a cisgen, as someone who loves their brothers, I don't think that they even noticing that this is not a good look at all.
No, and we need to get more synchronized people on some of these platforms to represent like structured ways of processing things. Sometimes you get a panel and everyone's on the same page, and it's like there's no counterbalance to the question like, how do Black people prosper from what we're saying here? Also, I want to use a more correct word, but I guess I can start for. Let me start with I acknowledge people's hurt, and I also acknowledge what I could perceive as cowardice. Like, for me, there is nothing outside of Black man and Black woman. Like, there is no escape. It's like you can't escape your people group, right? So it's like this concept of, well, you know, I can't get on with Black people, so I'm gonna go elsewhere, and they need to learn whatever. That's fine. That's fine for you to maybe think that whatever it might be. But when you start undermining and publicly doing these things, it's very peculiar. It's almost like. And also the okie doke that I think we will fall for is historically non-Black people have hated and mistreated Black people and taken resources and then put themselves in educational positions where they can afford more and have certain personas because they have more, and time has gone by, they've had second, third, fifth generation wealth, blah blah blah. And then to look at people in that group and go, well, this is the man I want to be with. You're nothing like this, or this is the woman I want to be with. When it's like understanding there has been a systematic training, and which still goes on today with with how the mainstream presents certain information, whatever. And
Also, go on, brother. No, go on, brother.
No, I was concluding there. So these are the things we need to always be aware of and remind people. Go ahead, brother.
A lot of the time we seem to forget as well, as it pertains to the African man, is that enslavement, the European woman was the overseer of you, as well as the Asian woman, as well as the Middle Eastern woman. If you study any historical enslavement of African people, the European woman, the Asian woman, and the Middle Eastern woman, they were overseers of you, right? So when you're in a relationship with them, because of our unsynchronized ways of allowing them to get in power, is that unfortunately you are on the plantation with them. So they can more or less treat you the way how they want to treat you. And if you get out of line, they will contact the big overseer, i.e. the system. And we don't seem to understand that you are in a plantation relationship, whether you're in the European woman, the Asian woman, the Middle Eastern woman, and that's how it pertains for the African woman. You're in a plantation relationship with the European man, Asian man, and the Middle Eastern man. They always exercise that power, and they always were the overseers, which way you want to look at it. So being in that relationship, you're literally back in time, and there's nothing that you can do about it unless you have economical power and security backed up by the African continent.
I think good points there. I think what I would like to do is give the brothers and sisters who's going to go out there in the world some ways of communicating that can minimize confusion, talk, and get straight to the point. And I think what I've got here is trying to talk to, when you talk to people, ask in this conversation, who is the custodians for Black people? Like, who's responsible for doing things that's in Black people's best interest, and let them know that you want to take that responsibility. So they might be offended that you have these definitions of Black love and Black bear and stuff. But at the end of the day, you've already defined that you are taking responsibility for fixing Black people. And that might correlate with what Kel was saying in this kind of separation, like making clear distinctions between those who are going to do things that is dedicated and those who are kind of, new age and stuff like that. I think that this is quite important. There was one other thing I was going to say. When we were looking at the individuals from the Defense League on the video, what you saw was a very consistent message in it. It was very consistent, and they didn't back down, and it was like very sharp, very firm, very to the point. That what this woman did was unacceptable, and whether she meant it or not, she must be punished. She has to just be re-educated on the issue, and she cannot be allowed to say this on platforms and stuff.
Yeah, but bro, it was direct and it was firm, but it was a direct, firm confusion. Even the last question that Don asked him was, okay, we're all on a growing path. What do we have to, now you've clearly said that it's that what is it, the word?
Anti-defamation, anti-Semitic. You mean anti-Semitic?
Thank you. Anti-Semitic could be based on religion, race. He named off all the things. So Don just asked him, what can we do going for, like, to wrap it up? What are the key things to know? What is anti-Semitic? What is the boundaries about race? And the man just said that about how they've had 6 million people died, this, that, and the other. Just do not dehumanize us. It's wrong. We need to come together as a people. That was how it ended. So what did you learn from that? Nothing.
No.
And this is what I'm saying about the confusion. It was direct, it was precise, and it just, all it did was to basically, in a nice bow, to scare the hell out of you. Don was stuttering pure times throughout that because he just didn't want to slip up. This is what I'm saying. When you look at it with these eyes, you can't look at it any other eye. You can't, because I was just watching it and then I was just noticing all of this and I was just thinking, this is crazy. This is actually crazy that I'm watching this on CNN News, and it is so plain to see.
Well, what I take from that is, because I always have to worry, like, I always wonder, strategy-wise, do I aim for people outside the community, inside the community, with certain messaging? And I think that fear that that maybe many people have when it comes to this topic, that might be a healthy fear to have within our community when it comes to people speaking against betterment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We need a bit more fear, man. Even when you was talking about wanting a way for us as a people to talk more directly and clearly in our native tongue, in the African tongue, there's so much words that you can't even translate in English in certain languages, like maybe or I'll try. It's like you're either doing something or you're not.
That's right. That's right.
So we're not learning something. We need to go Sankofa. We need to go back. You know what I mean?
Also, as well, Sister Question, Brother Raven, is that we know that to be a Semite, it's not just the Jewish, that the Arabs are Semites. You know what I mean? So what we've learned from that as well is, which is a lesson for us, is because what Dr. Claude Anderson explains beautifully in that is that because they have the economical power, they can dictate who can be classed as white and also use their religious business culture even when they mess up. And I think we need to learn that the economics, as what you were saying, Sister Kushti, in your show with Brother Raven, is that as long as we have that insecurity and that, we can mess up in speech, but at least we got the power. He messed up so many times. He couldn't explain what a Semite was. He went into indirect and hiding under, his political science. But at the end of the day, sister, when the cameras switch off, he's got the power and the privilege back to his community. They can make mistakes. We've got to understand, in order for us to get out of our situation, we need that economic and security power, so we can make mistakes and still have power.
Absolutely, brother.
I think
absolutely. And as far as he's concerned and his people's concerned, he probably didn't even make a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, he just came in and just made sure that he confirmed that stamp of just reoccurring fear and confusion. His job there was not to do anything. He didn't clarify nothing. If he really cared about, imagine us doing something like that on something that was genuinely offensive, and we had that kind of version. We'd make it very clear what not to say and how not to go about it. We'd give you recommendations on how to do it if you're in this scenario again. That wasn't his premise. His premise in there was to show you that Whoopi said it twice. Don't forget about my friend Nick Cannon, who did a tour, and don't you do it again.
Yeah, that friend comment was very interesting. That was a very, like,
he's now a friend to the community. He's now your boy, basically.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. Now, I don't know. I can't remember if this individual was a troll or sincere, but Salford Blue has asked a question, and normally we won't handle it in this kind of way. Was I assume he means black men who have resources date outside their race because there's not enough black women on their level. Too many black women are lost. That I don't know. That seems, is this a troll or is this a genuine confusion you're under that you want us to tackle?
Brother, that's very error prone.
Very error prone.
The Black Betterment blueprint.
And what we're going to do now, just to educate people, let me get the thing up, right? We're always going to want to be high principle. Now, don't get me wrong, within the community, there is much error proneness going on. But we want to attack it in a way where we do it in a constructive one. That's why we have the discipline, dedication. What am I going all the way here? Let's see here. Dedication, discernment, dignity, and discipline. So what we want to talk about, if because eventually I do want to talk to people who might feel that way, people in the divestment community, people in the what's the other one, the manosphere, this kind of stuff. Not ones who are too far gone to the point where it's almost dogmatic, but to the point where my area of interest is always pain, because sometimes people spew what they spew because they're in pain, and what I'd like us to do is always review the where that pain comes from, because sometimes people might actually be reviewing information at a different point where they actually are sustaining pain, when if they look at it very differently, they realize that actually we're blaming or pointing the fingers at the wrong direction, right? That doesn't mean that there isn't work to be done from both black men and black women to actually fix issues, but we don't ever want to create this us and them mentality amongst men and black women. That is definitely a no-no. Creating I think the way how I process things is black men and black women are like a coin, one's heads and tails, and you can't actually separate it, you know? So it's like any kind of competition we do. Now let's see. I am genuine, okay. I love our sisters, okay. So that's a good start. But if you are a black man who has resources, it's hard to find a black woman, especially in a professional setting. We need to do better socioeconomic. Are you saying that? Let me just make this clear. Are you saying that you as a successful man want a woman who's also successful? Is that what you're saying? Because I do understand that when it comes to success to an extent, many successful men are not necessarily looking for other business type women, but maybe someone who could support emotionally and be like a help within the household or maybe even the business at some point. But
that makes it as well, Raven, because our African sisters, and rightly so due to circumstances, they kind of outdo us in the economics. So if it's based on that, and especially if you're an African man who's not synchronized as well as her, that could cause gender wars, political signs. Right. So we got to be very careful.
Let's ask that. So just to make sure, do you feel that maybe I assume that Selfie Blue is a black man? You're not really sure, but are you saying that you that black women are excelling at economics and this is why you're struggling to find a partner? Or are you saying that you are excelling at economics and you want to find another woman who matches your economic kind of capability? Just to be sure. And by the way, feel free to click on the link and jump in if you have the technology where you can use audio. Always welcome. What we ask is that you show discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity. And ultimately, the goal here is for black men and black women to be completely synchronized with betterment, because the primary best way to produce a constructive black family is constructive black man with a constructive black woman. Raising a constructive family. But this is interesting. Yes, I'm 22. Very important because you're of a youngish age. You're old, obviously, fully old man, but you're new to the 20s, so we can say you're relatively youngish. And yes, I'm 22, and a whole moment, well done, an engineer. This sister I see are not on my level. It's the mentality that's the problem. Well, jump in, brother. I mean, if you're going through some challenges, maybe we can point in the right direction. Maybe we can actually take your story and try to educate the sisters on that.
But Raven,
the black woman, though, that's what I prefer, which is good to know.
Raven, we have to be very careful with that because of our situation, right? The African woman has been socialized to be a European type of masculine woman, and African man has been socialized to be a European masculize woman, unfortunately, right? So if the gentleman is yearning for that compatibility of both having a career, he's going to have a Pan-Africanist Garvey mindset of black betterment, because it cannot be competing, which will happen. It must be about bettering the collective of the family. Because remember the mindset, brother, because a lot of our brothers do say, well, I want a woman who earns more than me. But unfortunately, if you do not understand her character, as I made it clear before, and understand why she had to be in that position, it will lead to gender wars. So we have to be very careful about having the African woman on the same compatibility. Unless you understand why she has to do that, then I don't believe that you should enter that. And the mindset and intention should be collective betterment globally, instead of the compatibility of, I'm, rich and you're rich. Because sooner or later, because of our engineering destruction mindset of competing with another, which comes from white supremacy, it may not end well, man.
Yeah. So, brother Salford Blue, what is your views on collective betterment amongst black people? Do you feel it might be necessary for black people to come together? And if that's the case, what is the strategy? Like, we understand that constructive black man, constructive black woman, make a constructive black house. They can network with other constructive black families and form institutions and this kind of stuff. But if we don't see eye to eye at this kind of level now, I mean, you might have a certain tone that might not resonate well with certain women, or whatever it might be, or vice versa. And clearly, that plan can't go ahead. By the way, like I said, you're welcome to jump in. Empress Kushti has given you the link. If you click on it, it should work. Technology works. If you're not prepared to talk, that's fine. What we want to do for people who are not used to speaking, we definitely want to present a place where people who are new to speaking can come and express themselves. We just ask that you try to follow some of the rules. But I do want a black woman. Okay, so I've read that already, which is very good. It's good to meet black people when we meet black people. That's very helpful. That's a very that's how you produce black people. That's how it works. That's yeah.
Just while we're waiting for his response, I just want to reply back to Brother Wim, WIM. I think his question was, he was saying that when you were saying, would you say that practice is seen more often with black men when they're non-partners as opposed to black women and their non-partners? And he was saying who practice racism. I think, funny enough, I think it's actually the white women who practice more racism, I've noticed, than the white man. I don't know if it's more overt racism or it's more upfront, a bit more aggressive, or you could just see it more. But yeah, I definitely feel that what I've noticed is the and it's basically my feedback. I can say that without even blinking, because I have people who have been brought up who are of mixed heritage and have had people in their own family not speak to them, or I've had people who have had babies with people who are white, and the comments and the feedback and the stuff like that is particularly from the woman. The uncomfortable environment is from the woman. I've heard of when the woman's been angry at the black partner, then they've taken it out on the kids, and they've called the kids racist names. It's just there's too many stories out there like that, so I'd probably say it's the woman.
And
Go ahead, brother.
And this is not to water down what Sister Kushi said. All due respect to her, due to the situation that we're in, political scientifically, it would work in our favor to generalize all of them. And the reason why that is, sister, is because what I notice what we do as a people is that when we categorize, we'll say to ourselves, well, if they're not doing it, I can seek their acceptance more than the rest. And that's very dangerous, because we have tons of history and proof that, yes, we know that the European woman, the Asian woman, Middle Eastern woman, they were doing horrendous things to the African men and the younglings. But at the same time, the counterpart, their men, right, were also partnership in betterment. So it would be better, sister, to, and I've said this many times before, due to upbringing and political stuff, that the solution with non-African people, you have to generalize all of them. Confusing and like separating them confuses black people.
No,
This is
you're
why,
right.
for example, you
No,
know, they'll. Do you
you're
understand
right.
what I'm
And
saying?
even when you say it, I mean, I was just respectfully answering a question that was given to me in the chat, where it was just asking me, so which one have I heard? Which one would I say is more racist? But in the greater scheme of things, especially on the back of what we've just seen, and me saying that we need to be on code, regardless, each of them have done their fair share. Like, as a black woman and knowing the history of my people, there's no way I could say that the white woman's worse when there's been some horrendous things that's happened to black women.
Yeah.
Things that I don't know how we're still even alive now, because how women have overcome that. Do you know what I mean? So you're absolutely right, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
And so,
I just think it's and it just falls in line to this men and women and this divisiveness. And I'm not saying that the brother was asking that in that term either, because I think that when you're surrounded by that energy so much, it just comes a part of your vernacular. You know what I mean? It just comes into your play. And that's why it's so important to censor this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And acknowledge it. I was the one on here saying that, you know what I mean? I don't think we should necessarily have so much talk about the divestment, because it just becomes the black thing, just like artists speaking on black culture. It gets messy and stuff. So I understand what you're saying there, brother Cal, but I also understand that where we can fall into that trap. Do you know what I mean? But it's good that, you know what I mean, we hold each other accountable and things like that. So I get what you mean. And I totally agree. I couldn't say one's better than the other.
Yeah, but and also we also, regardless of sometimes when we speak, we place so much focus on outside community, but also the primary must always be inside the community. But I think what we want to do is develop vocal skills to make that, because obviously, just like Don was looking very frail when he wanted to talk, that also happens amongst black men and black women when you want to speak with power and passion about why you want to do black economics, black love, and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe one thing I could do to offer is like, whenever you talk about why you want to be with a black person, you could ask, well, you know what? Let's do this. Why don't we say that I'm willing to allow myself to be with a non-black person when it comes to love. Right after, collectively, Europeans pay reparations and that. So if once they pay reparations, then we can have a discussion. That way, you now put the emphasis on them. You can say, okay, is being with me as important, where you will rally with everyone in your community to pay back reparations for the damage you've done, or is that when you say, well, hold on, if we start paying that, then how's that going to work out for us? You see, because that when this talk of reparations, it always seems like a fancy talk, which I guess it is when you think of it, right? But what is interesting about it is you'll start seeing when people go, yeah, well, what about me though? If my government has to pay reparations, what about me? I wasn't there. I'm going to lose out. And that's when you see this whole love Disney thing doesn't really go, because you're not really in the same mindset as a black person.
What's love got to do with it?
Yeah, you see? And so it's like trying to find ways of talking where you can get straight back to the point of why it's easier and more beneficial to practice black love. The second question was, yes, we need to come together and build as families, but black people as a whole are lost, too much self-hate. I think I read it, not enough ambition. So, brother, if you
did say on there, I just want a sister who wants to build.
Yeah, which is cool. But what I'm saying is, brother, maybe we can help you out on that. If you're constructive and you jump on, maybe we can like unpack what you're saying and find out what area you're in and what you're seeing, and if you can be a part of the solution. One thing I would say as well is sometimes we have to build what we want to actually have. You know, it sounds horrible sometimes, but sometimes we have to be a part of the building process, and we have to give the tools that our community can use to find the right way. Some people are far gone, and we wish them well. But there are some people, like some of our best orators, have lived a life of complete unsynchronization until they're in the last end of a situation they want to be in, and then they see the light and they become. Brother Malcolm X is probably one to think of, right? So it's like rather than us complain, we want to be part of the solution strategy, and hopefully we can work together to find what is actually happening, why you're struggling to find a black woman who you're trying to build with. Because there's plenty. Go ahead, sister.
Sorry, Brother Ryan.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just wanted to say something to the brother Salford Blue.
Yeah.
But first of all, obviously, we weren't sure of the energy, right, because of the first statement that he came in with.
Yeah.
And I just think as well, with these kind of situations, I think it's best for the woman to fall back. I think these kind of situations, it's obviously you've given him space to be able to answer and ask him if he was genuine, and he said that he's genuine. And then the more he's talking, the more you can see his where he's going with it. But I think if it was going to go left and it was a troll or someone or something like that, I just think it's best that if it's a man, men have to handle the black men, have to handle the black men, and the black women should have to handle the black women. I just think that's how it needs to go now. So that's why I just went quiet and let yourselves handle it. But now that I see it's not in that vein, I just wanted to offer some advice to him as like a black sister, because he's saying that it's not necessarily about the money or the profession. He's saying that he does say here, I'm genuine, I love the sisters, but if you're a black man who has resources, it's hard to find a black woman, especially in a professional setting. We need to do better social, economically. And so I'm thinking more for him, because at one point he says that it's about the mentality. So I don't think he's necessarily saying that he wants to see, yes, I think he's saying that he wants to see more women on his level, because then he can interact with them. And obviously I'm not talking for the brother. He can type in. He's chatting rubbish. I'm just giving my opinion here, but I'm just saying that I think that he wants to see that so he can be in an environment where he can actually interact with them. He's looking around at work and he's saying that he's not seeing that. He's not seeing that reflection there. So what I would say is that it could be the particular profession that he is, like he's in an engineer profession. I know that I'm happy that Brother Cal did say that actually the stats are women are doing very well professionally, black women than black men. So maybe if you look outside of your profession or be in environments where that's why I'm glad that Brother Raven asks, are you for black betterment? I'm sure if you go to different events, where I have been to many on the back of my business, where there are plenty of gorgeous young women, right, who are professionals, lawyers, accountants, architects. Like I've seen them all, like in their plenties, brother. I just think it needs to be where you're going. You need to just make the effort to go to these places, because these places are where the women's at. And back in the day, this is why I say we need to go Sankofa, because I think that we've I don't know what's happened. Like we've somehow we've let the younger generation not mix how we used to mingle and mix. Men used to just follow the women. There was a reason why women could get in free in any club. Do you know what I mean? And the men can't. Like there's a process to that. There's a science behind that. So if you want to find that, brother, you're gonna have to go into the spaces where they're at. And you could go to when I say that, I'm saying, obviously I'm talking in a matter of a business sense, and my business normally is black women coming towards me, and they are of like-minded. So I go to a lot of Pan-African events, a lot of events where there's black businesses. Once you go to there, at least if you go to like the black businesses type events, you won't feel like you're the only men the only man amongst a pool of women, which can be quite intimidating. In black businesses events, you'll see a mixture. But you'll also see a woman who must be of like minds, because she's focusing on going to that type of event, right? A Pan-African black business event. And I'm telling you, there is plenty of those women who are of a professional status. That's very impressive. So I'm just rounding it up to say, you're young, you're in a great profession. and you want to be with a sister. And for me, I can only see that with loving eyes, and just say to you that a more positive attitude will get you way further, brother. You know, saying that all sisters are lost, what you say can manifest your future. So trying to be a bit more open-minded on it, go to different areas, as I suggested, different groups, and you'll find her. That's what I'm going to say on that.
Also, as well, when you've done that, what Sister Kushti says, brother, and you've found the African descendant that you want to be with, it's very important after you've courted her that you ask her, can I speak to the leader of your community, whether it be your father or an uncle, right, in that community? That it's very important that you ask that, because one thing you don't want to do, my brother, and it's going to sound a bit old-fashioned, but I'm all about the liberation and protection of the African family, is that you are courting her or seducing her, and you don't sit down and talk about generational wealth with her and the family. Do you understand? And also speak about the tangible solutions that you want to help with the African family, because if you seduce her or court her, right, and you do it not in that way of contacting the community, and you get her pregnant, based upon our unsynchronized nature as men, African men, you more likely will increase her unsynchronized behavior, which she has for men, due to the fact of what's happened to us historically. It's very important that you go to the community and explain that I want to be with this woman, I want to marry her, and I want to give generational wealth, excuse me, and also build. It can only be that way. Other than that way, brother, you will trigger off unsynchronized behavior, or due respect to you.
There you go. So there you go. So
you can imagine the poor guy that's shivering to come to talk to Brother Cal if he has a daughter. You can imagine the knees just knocking.
Sister, I have like my daughters are like in their late teens or that, right? And any man that wants to marry them, right? Because as I said, man, me and you spoke about this.
Yeah.
All women, they view time, sex, and relationship differently, and they have a clock as what you demonstrated. So no man's going to be Bugs Bunnying themselves out of the situation when it comes to the African woman. It happens too many times, and look what happens in our time. And so it has to be very controlled.
No, definitely. No, absolutely. And I agree. I'm only playing, but I wholeheartedly agree with you, brother. It's the only way to move forward. So
thank you, family. So as guys, we are pretty much at the end of the show now. Very good show. Thanks for the forum support, and thanks for obviously Empress Kush, Brother Kel. Always an amazing to have them on. I want to see them week to week. Always very helpful. So would you guys have your last thing you'd like to say before we end this show, brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I would just say that I really enjoyed being on the show, and this was a really great topic, and it was obviously great being with you both as per usual, and just delving a bit deeper and looking at the political science of it all. And I would just say to the family out there is just to, when these constant patterns happen, really try to take the emotion out of it. And I know it's like a bit of a cliche to say that, but this time I automatically just looked at this as a case study. It was very subconscious. And I just think if you just stick around that kind of mentality and like-minded mentality, you can shield yourself from a lot of the foolishness out there. And it's just better for the mental health for us all, and higher development and discussion, and to push forward. So yeah, just watch out for the next pattern and really analyze things. And you'll be amazed to see the same old okie doke going on. So yeah, but yeah, great show.
Yeah, as I always say, the Honorable Marcus Garvey says that you have to nationalize your economics, nationalize your political agenda, nationalize your culture, and definitely Black custodian as what Brother Raven promotes, is definitely the solution to filter out the unsynchronized Africans and to put balance to that community. And it's always a pleasure to be on the platform with you, Brother Raven, and Sister Kushti and the rest of the African family, because we do need to implement these blueprints. And without a shadow of a doubt, Brother Raven, your blueprint is definitely based upon political science, and it's a genius way, and I support it 100%, brother.
Thank you, family. Okay, thank you there. And for everyone, next week, same time. Hopefully we have new people next week who feel comfortable jump on. But until then, Black Bearman, thank you very much. Till next week.